Hello, 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 and thank you all once again for tuning into my podcast, Real Talk About Life and Relationships. Today I have a guest, which I'm going to introduce here shortly. I just need to fix my background really quickly. Um, and so we're going to be doing real talk. Like real talk to me is about getting real information from real people. I do not like to speak on things that I don't know about. And so a lot of times when you get these discussion groups going on online, you have people, men trying to chime in on how women think and how women feel and vice versa. But we really just need to ask each other. We need to ask each other and get that information about how do men see things? How do women see things? How do we feel? How do we think? Because that's how we're going to get to know each other. And so to approach that topic, the topic today, which I want to discuss, is how men express love in relationships. I brought a man in to help us to understand how men express love in relationships instead of me just making assumptions by myself. So, but before we dive into that, I want to remind you all that my show comes on Thursdays at 12 p.m. I'm Sometimes I miss. I'm sorry to say that life gets busy, but I try to be as consistent as possible. But if you're in need of some information or some guidance when it comes to your life and relationships, you are free to go and watch my past episodes on YouTube, Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram sometimes. Those are the main ones. And so you can watch current and past episodes there. You can also catch my show on the Entertainment Theater app. Through the iStore or the Google Play Store. If you download the Entertainment Theater app, you can also download that app on the Roku as well and also watch past episodes of my show along with other independent creators. And so before, I'm trying to see if there's anything else I need to mention. Also, make sure you like, follow, share my content, especially to those people who you think are in need of this type of information, because it is very, very important to our quality of life and our overall growth as human beings. And so without further ado, I will go ahead and introduce my guest, Mr. Scott McClaine, but he's going to tell you a little bit more about who he is and what he does. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Stephanie, before I say anything about myself, I want to just take a quick moment to say thank you for inviting me on, but even more importantly, thank you for taking the time to put this type of podcast together and to make it available for people, because this is the type of information that's really needed so much just out here in the community. Now, my name is Scott McClaine, and I am a life coach. I was trained by Tony Robbins, Cloe, Madanes, and I was really just kind of driven into doing this by spirit. And so it's really nice to be able to connect with people and to see those transformations just taking place within themselves. And it's just, I'm honored to be able to be a part of that. I guess I will mention that I do have a free Facebook community that anybody can just hop on at any time. That's Lifelong Impact. So if you just go to Facebook, look for the groups, Lifelong Impact, and that's where you can find me.
Okay, thank you so much. And you will also be able to find his links under or above this video, whatever platform you're watching on, if you want to get more information about what he does and his services and things like that. So to dive into this juicy topic for today, I'm really looking forward to this. I wanted to talk about how men express love in relationships. And so if you've been following the kind of segment that I've been doing so far, I started talking about what love is and how love is related to our growth as human beings. And if somebody is not contributing to or making sacrifices for the benefit of your growth, that is not love. And love is more than just a feeling. And so I talked about that. And then I went into what does it mean to love yourself? Because if you do not know how to love yourself, it's going to make it very difficult for you to be able to love other people properly. And you have a lot of people who show up in relationships half-cocked, for lack of a better word, because they don't know how to love themselves. And then when it comes to trying to extend those things to other people, it becomes very, very problematic. A statement that I always say, maybe it's going to be a term that I end up coining, I don't know, is that unhealthy people cannot have healthy relationships. I don't care what their intentions are, how much they want to, how they feel. If you are not healthy yourself, you are not going to be able to have a healthy relationship, because what you're bringing to the relationship is yourself. And if you're unhealthy, you're going to bring your unhealthiness to that relationship. So we have to work on ourselves and understand what's going on with ourselves if we want to have not only good romantic relationships, but parenting relationships, friendships, working relationships. So it's very important for us to focus on our own personal growth so that we come to these relationships ready to roll with the difficulties and challenges that they will also have. And so with those things in mind, I want to talk about how men express love within relationships, because it is different a lot of times than what women do. Now, I think there's like a basis, because like I said, when it comes to love is about life is about growth, and relationships are things that help to facilitate our growth. And so, if you're contributing to somebody's growth, that's a part of loving them. But and that's it's a basis of that. So you can't say you love a person, but you don't do that. So that's just the basis. So I know women are going to do that, men are going to do that, parents are going to do that. But there is a difference when it comes to the way men express love outside of that or in conjunction with that than when it comes to women, because we are different and we're different for a reason. And so, like I said, I wanted to bring a man on to kind of explain some of the differences that men and women have when it comes to expressing love, because I think sometimes it becomes a source of conflict, because women are expecting one thing, men are expecting another thing. And without that communication, it's very easy for us to misunderstand each other and think that we're not being loved when we actually are, and vice versa. And so I really want to dive into this and even get some information from my own mental notebook to take down when it comes to that. So Scott, I want to, give you the floor right now, and then we're just going to, let the conversation go wherever it's going to go. Can you name about 2 to 4 things that you think is how men express love in relationships that might sometimes be missed by women or misunderstood by women?
Okay. Yes, definitely. And I would say the number one thing that is misunderstood is one of the things that men do is we go to work.
Okay.
We work. Our motivation for going to work is to take care of the family. Our motivation for taking risks is to take care of the family. Our objective is to do things now, self-sacrifice. That word that you said a little earlier, we consider ourselves as sacrifice. I'm going to work. I'm going to work these hours. I'm going to do these things for the benefit of being able to create a better future for the people that I love. And so I think that's one of the biggest pieces is just misunderstood all the way around.
Okay.
So it's that work, it's taking the risk as well.
Okay. I like that you said that. So now, because I know that there's a fine line with this, because you have a lot of men that will work and work and work and work and work, and they don't do anything else except for work. So when it comes to like quality time, communication, things like that, those things can get put on the back burner a lot when it comes to relationships. And I was even having a conversation with this guy the other day about this, and he was saying how men work to provide and that women don't appreciate what men do. And so I think this is a very good thing, a good starting point, because you will have men that work, and to them that they're taking care of the family and expressing their love through that. But then at home, the woman is feeling neglected. She's feeling like she's not being paid attention to. She's feeling disconnected. So what is your response to that when it comes to a man who is working to show his love, but a woman, he's not really connecting and putting that effort into other parts of the relationship also?
And so I'm going to kind of level shift on this just a little bit here. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is I think it's good to remember is that we all thrive off of 6 human needs. It's like we have to have these 6 different needs filled. And one of those is certainty. Then you have the opposite of that, the uncertainty or variety. We have significance. We have that love and connection. We have growth. We have contribution. But one of the pieces that's so really important for men is that significance. And so I'm just want to kind of focus in just there real quick. Now, significance means that we feel like we're adding value. We're feeling like we're appreciated. And so often the guy will start off going to work for the purpose of providing.
Okay.
But then when he comes home, sometimes he's not feeling as though he's having full purpose. So he goes back to work.
Okay.
Does that make any sense right there? And so we can fulfill these needs from a positive way or from a negative way. And so sometimes what happens is we start off, and in our head, or the way we're wired it in our head is that we're doing this to help you. We're doing this to provide for the family. But because we're getting more significance here, we're feeling like we have more value over here on the work side. And we don't have a lot of confidence and faith within ourselves on all the other aspects of life. We continue to work more than coming home to take care of all those other parts.
That
And
makes
so
sense.
for those people that you were talking about, those guys that you were talking about, we're in an imbalanced state if we're just working, and not coming back to take care of those other needs for ourselves as well as for the people that we love.
No, that's a really good point. And so I think you this can go two different ways, because one, you can say that the woman, when he comes home, the woman is not I want to say encouraging that need to be met at home. But I can also look at it as sometimes you do have women that are there and the men still don't. He still finds more value in his work and more confidence in being able to do that than actually connecting. And so I think that it's a really good point to know that, and you can of course chime in when my wheels are turning as you're talking, chime into the different parts, because if you have a woman, and I like to call women out on their stuff all the time, so I'm not one of those women that always make excuse for other women. You do have to have a woman that's at home that's helping to encourage that. So for example, if your man has been, or your husband has been at work all day, and as soon as he comes home, you have a laundry list of stuff that he's done wrong and he's not doing this and this and that, then you're not encouraging that for him to now contribute, for him to meet those other needs. So you have to be mindful about creating an environment, and he has to do the same thing for you now, don't get me wrong, yes, but creating an environment to where he's able to now feel comfortable in, nurturing those other parts of the relationship as well. But then on the other hand, you have men that do have women that are trying to create that environment, and they just find it very, very difficult to now connect on a more emotional level and spending time and being romantic and being spontaneous and stuff like that you're saying. So they choose to now focus on work. So what are your thoughts about those two things?
So from the standpoint of coming home and the woman is given that laundry list of things that were done wrong or not done, that is definitely something that pushes the guy back to work. Plain and simple. Just plain and simple. Because we're going to go to where we find the most peace, where we find the most significance, where we can have the most certainty around what we're doing. We know we can go to work and we can do this. I do this, I'm going to get this result. You come to the house, it's like I do this, and I don't know what kind of result I'm going to get. Okay. And so in those scenarios, definitely that drives the man back away. Now, in the scenarios where you're talking about the woman is there providing all of, where she's attempting to provide all of the needs. And notice I added in the word attempting, because one of the things that's for sure, you already know this, you've already been talking about it, is that women and men think differently. We're wired differently. And so something that makes perfect sense to a lady does not make perfect sense to a man, and vice versa. Yeah, I was, and this is kind of off, but not, I was looking at this study a while back where what they did was they tested parents of newborns. And so the husband and wife sleeping, or the mom and dad, I'll just say mom and dad sleeping. The baby starts crying. The mom always wakes up first and the dad still sleeps. And so the mom goes in and see what's going on with the baby. Now the mom is upset oftentimes because the dad did not wake up. He's still sleeping peacefully. But then the other side of this test was they made some leaves ruffle around outside the window. The dad wakes up, the wife still sleeps, or the mom still sleeps. The dad is out running around looking, is anybody outside here? Is is the family safe? And she's still sleeping. And so we're wired differently. The man is wired towards preventing any predators from coming in. Does that make sense? It's like
yeah.
I'm that strength. I'm going to protect the family physically. The mom is more of a protect the family internally, not from outside stuff, but inside stuff. And so the way our society is made up right now, unfortunately, is not as much outside stuff coming in. But when it comes in, we're going to stop up and take care of that. And so that's often where our mindsets are. We're part of the way we show love is, let me look around and make sure this house is safe.
Protection.
Yes, from a physical perspective. But that's something that a lot of ladies might not even notice because they're in a place of safety. And so you don't notice a lack of safety until it's like a lack of safety.
Or they got an attitude because you didn't wake up when the baby was crying. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And we're wired differently. And so for a man not to run in and check on the baby, I'm going to check on the kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a sign of a lack of love. It's a sign of he's doing what a man part would do.
Okay.
Whereas a lady would focus in on, oh, you were sick, I came to check on you. You know, but it's just different from that perspective. And so sometimes what a lady is, and she's doing a great, so I'm not knocking her, but she's doing a great thing. She's attempting to really focus in and say, let me fulfill his needs. Let me encourage him. But in not understanding the makeup of the man is a little harder to do that. You mentioned a little earlier, and I might mess your word up there, I didn't write it down, that unhealthy people.
People can't have healthy relationships. Yeah.
Yes. And that's from an unhealthy mental state, I believe is what you were saying there.
Mm-hmm.
So often when you have relationships, you have you have people coming in looking for someone else to complete them.
Exactly. Yeah.
The ideal thing, though, is to come in complete.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you come into a relationship complete and the other person comes in complete, now you've got a great, strong, lasting potential in this relationship.
Exactly.
But if you're coming in looking for somebody to complete you and this other person is looking for somebody to complete them, you have these two partial people per se, you're going to have some issues.
Exactly.
And so, you know, and I think really in relationships, that's really where we have to kind of start. You have to look at how do you get into the relationship. And as you begin to understand how you came into a relationship, it helps you to figure out how to fix the relationship, how to make it last longer.
Yeah.
And as I think about that, if you think about most of the times when you come around somebody, a lot of us have that self-doubt going on within us. And so it's like, how do I need to show up for this person?
Right.
How do they want me to show up? And so it's like we're now beginning to act like we think they want us to be. So we're not being ourselves. We're not being true to ourselves. We're sending in an avatar into the relationship. And so you have this avatar coming in a relationship, this other person's avatar is coming into a relationship, and they create a connection. And so now they start going into this relationship, start moving forward. Oh, I love you, whatever. But then the true self starts to want to show up. And then we start looking to say, well, you know, you changed. What's going on? You changed. But if at the beginning of the relationship, if we can start off being ourselves and give that person the permission to be themselves. And at any point in the relationship, that's important to do. And, you know, so just to say, look, you know, today, right now, whatever you say, I'm not going to be offended by it. I know it has nothing to do with me. And this is all about you right now. So whatever you say, I'm not going to be offended by it. I'm not going to go off about it. And I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what's important to you. I want to know what your dreams are. I want to know what your visions are. I want to know what your pains are. Just to have that open, completely honest relationship but it has to be in a place of trust, in a place of, whatever you say, I am not going to get upset about.
Right. I like that.
I'm not going to point fingers.
No, sorry. You getting me going. So it's two things, and I'm taking notes so I don't lose my train of thought because I want to get back to what we said. But I think what you just said is really, really important because your ability to be that honest is going to depend on how healthy you are as a person. If you're not very secure in who you are, which is a part of being healthy, it's going to be very difficult for you to be honest because you're going to be functioning. Because like you said, you come in and you want to, how can you show up for this person? Because you want something from this person, whether it's companionship, whether it's sex, whether it's time, whether it's money, whatever. That's now those can go into unhealthy things as well. But you're trying to get something out of this person. And so that's why you want to show up in a way, even if it's just love, but you want to show up for them in a way that's going to make it where they're now give you what it is that you want from the relationship. So if you now show your real self, the question becomes, is this person still going to give me what it is that I'm trying to get out of the relationship if I show up as my real self? Maybe they won't like me. Maybe they'll reject me. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe all these other questions. And so I think the fear of losing that potential, the potential of getting that need met is what makes people not be honest. But you have to be secure in yourself enough to be honest, even if it means you might risk losing this specific person. Because in my understanding, in my opinion, if you lose somebody being your real self, then that person is not for you. But some people feel like, well, let me just do this so that I can get the person, and then maybe the real me will show up later. I don't know. So I like that you brought that up, and I'm curious as to what you think about that from a male's point of view, because you do have a lot of people who, like you say, and I like the term you use in Avatar, they show up trying to be what you want them to be. And then at some point, you can't wear a mask forever. The real you is going to start coming out. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have evil intentions or you're trying to be deceptive. It's just a natural thing that we kind of do, thinking that this is how we're going to get our needs met. But you have to be secure in yourself in order to be honest enough to say, this is who I am. Hopefully it still works for you. And if it doesn't, now it's just time for me to try to find somebody who I fit with a little bit better. So what is your thoughts about people's ability to be honest about being their real selves from the beginning?
And, of course, the most important part of that is they have to value themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to do that internal work. And I think that's important. A lot of times we don't want to do that internal work because, I don't know, just TV show is on or something. I don't know. Life is happening. So we don't want to do that internal work. Mm. If we do the internal work, then that makes life become easier. It makes it funner. It makes it more fulfilling. Yeah. And so I think it's important to take the time to do that internal work, or to work with a coach to help guide you through that process. But when you're otherwise, like, if you're not doing the internal work, still you have to see your own value when you come into that relationship. Yeah. Plain and simple. Anywhere in the relationship, if you're already in it, begin to see your own value, whatever it takes to begin to see your own value. If you're not seeing your own value, it's hard to show up.
Yeah, it is.
It's just hard to do it.
Yeah, and that's when you get, like you say, people who are coming into relationship looking for fulfillment from somebody else, because that makes you more like desperate, for lack of a better word, to hold on to the person because they have something that you feel like you need so bad. And so that's going to make you put on a mask even more because you're trying to keep them. But if you're securing yourself and if you whatever you have, if I want it, is if I don't get it, it doesn't take anything away from me. I'm still me. It will make you more comfortable to say, okay, this is who I really am. So I think that's very, very important, because you do have a lot of people fronting about who they really are. And then boom, when the real them come out, it's a huge problem. And so absolutely. So let's get back really quickly to what you were saying about men kind of setting this stage for okay, so we talked about them doing their part, going to work, and then them being protected, and women kind of misunderstanding when they're trying to set the atmosphere for them to connect in these other ways, that women can kind of miss the mark a little bit because they're thinking one thing and the man is thinking another thing. So tell me something that a woman can do to make sure that she's setting the environment to make the man want to kind of work on these other things that may or may not come as naturally to him as it does to her. So we know you're working to provide, but now I need these other needs met. So how do I encourage my man, so to speak, to now participate in that part of the relationship as well, to show up fully in that part of the relationship?
Right. I think one big piece there is to give them space. not space. I don't know the best word there, but to give him room to be himself.
Okay.
So, and sometimes what happens is when the guy starts to try to figure, because for the most part, men aren't really as expressive on relationships as ladies are. So it's a little bit more challenging for us to express ourselves.
Okay.
It takes a little bit more time. We got to play around with the words. How am I going to say that? So, and so often when that's happening, the lady may become impatient or irritated. She might take apart some of the little words we're saying. It's like a smaller part of what we were saying in the big picture and get upset or angry about this little part. And we're like, that ain't what I was talking about. So to hold off on judgment.
Okay.
To allow him to be in a safe place to express himself. So if you're asking some questions to pull out a part of him that he normally doesn't express, give him space to bring that out and give him room for error in the way that he might present it.
Okay.
Does that make any sense there?
Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense because I know, like I talked about my younger self, of course. I know that there's a lot of things now that I know as an older person when it comes to relationship and having been married and stuff like that I didn't know when I was younger. And one of those things, because I was married for 15 years, and one of those things that I did learn within the marriage is to give my spouse space at the time. Now you're younger, you have more energy, you have a lot of energy to waste, and yeah, you can be impatient. Like, okay, come on, let's talk about it now. Let's do this now. And so I had to learn throughout my marriage, like, okay, just say what you need to say and then leave it. Don't press the issue. Don't keep chasing. Don't keep hounding. Don't keep going after. Just leave it and give the other person, your husband, and this works for all relationships. Honestly, it's not just other marital one or romantic ones, just to give the person some space to kind of do their own processing that they need to do to now come back to you fully ready to engage or have made a decision about how they want to engage with what you've talked about. So it makes a lot of sense to me based on that. But even hearing from your perspective, it just kind of confirms, even my own lessons that I've learned in relationships about giving people space and time to their own processing. Because a lot of times when you're rushing and when you're being impatient, goes back to what we said, it's because of something that is going on within you. You're trying to meet an insecure need that you have, or you're struggling with your own stuff. And now that's coming out of you as, okay, now hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But if you're insecure in who you are and you understand what you want, you understand what you need, it will reduce the need to kind of push the envelope in that way. So absolutely. I love it. Yeah. Anything you want to say before we jump to your next point about how men express love in relationships?
Well, it just, I guess just to kind of put this little piece there, as you're talking about showing up completely, being there for them completely, I still think it's important to kind of keep the 6 human needs just in the top of mind awareness. What needs are important to your significant other in this particular scenario, whoever it is you're building a relationship with? What needs are the most important to them, and how can you help them to fulfill those?
Yeah.
And so in a strong relationship, and we'll probably touch on the levels of love maybe a little bit later, and if you want me to now, I can. But if we're looking at the levels of love, if you're coming into a relationship and if you start making it about them, knowing that you're filling yourself up because you're giving love, you're doing things for someone else, and the more you can you come into a relationship just for the purpose of loving, then the more the other person feels loved, and then they can start giving love back to you.
Right.
That could start from either side of the equation, but ultimately that's where we want to get to in a love relationship.
Right. Yeah.
That's the key piece.
Yeah. So if you want to, because I do like your levels of love thing. So if you want to kind of explain that so people kind of have a really good idea of what you're talking about. I think that, because like even when I'm talking about, because you're actually confirming stuff that I already said in my other videos, which is that love is about growth. So when you talk about the 6 needs, those needs are directly connected to the growth of that person. So it's not like they just have a need where Well, I want somebody that brings me my food in front of me every day and I don't have to cook anything. We're not talking about those type of superficial needs. We're talking about the needs that help you grow as a person, help you feel fulfilled as a person, help you create an atmosphere for you to now be able to learn these, because life is a process. Even your personal growth is a process, your relational growth is a process. But when you have these different components of meeting the needs of those people, this is how you not only grow individually, but you also grow together, and your relationship becomes better and better and deeper over time. So it goes right back to what I said in my other video, and we did not talk about that beforehand. So this is just validation that I'm not making this stuff up, that love is about growth, and whether it's for yourself or other people. But now you're talking about the levels of love. So can you break that down a little bit so the people know what you mean by that?
Right. So we have 4 levels of love. That's how I kind of see this. 4 levels of love. The first level is you're in this relationship, but you're only concerned about yourself. Am I getting my needs met? And, is she treating me the way I want her to treat me? It's just all about me. And a lot of people, that's all they bring into a relationship. It's like all just about me.
Me, yeah.
And of course, that's not a good relationship. That relationship is probably not going to last unless it evolves. Exactly. But that's how a lot of people will come into a relationship. That's more of it's going to be just a battle all the way through. The second level of love is when, kind of like what you were mentioning before, I'm going to do these things for you so that I can get these things from you. I'm going to give you some love so you can give me some love. I'm going to do this for you if you pay this bill. If I'm going to do, and that's what I kind of consider as, kind of hate to say it right here, hopefully you're okay with this, but that's what I consider as whoring. It's like, I'm going to do this for you if you give me this. If you don't treat me right, then I ain't going to treat you right either.
Exactly.
And that's where a lot of relationships get to and stay.
Exactly.
Right, that second level of love.
Exactly.
So if you're not, whatever it is that you placed on this other person as your deal inside your head, if you're not doing this, then I ain't gonna give you nothing. If you're not doing this, then I ain't coming home tonight.
Right.
Doing, and so that's still a kind of a weaker type of love. But that third level of love, that's when you come into a relationship or you evolve in a relationship where you say, you know what, I love this person no matter what. I love them. Because I love them, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that their 6 human needs are met. Where they have that certainty, where they have some variety, where they feel significant, where they're feeling the love, they're experiencing love, where they can have some growth, where they can feel that they've been contributing back to myself and back to people around us. I'm going to do everything I can to provide those things for them. Because I love them. Whether I'm getting something back or not is completely irrelevant.
Right. Yeah.
And so sometimes we start stepping into that level and then we fall back out, but I ain't got my needs, man.
Right.
Yeah. And then we fall back and say, well, I'm going to have to leave you if you don't do this for me. And, which goes into this certainty category, which is one of the human needs, just as a side note, is we have the need of certainty. The need to know that I'm going to come home to love. That's a certain piece there. But if I'm coming home and she's like half packed, or saying, if you don't make it home by 9 o'clock, then don't worry about coming.
Right.
That's taking away the certainty at a place where we need certainty to be.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that again, that third level of love is just giving. You just give. You're going to make sure. And I want to make a distinction here. Sometimes we think doing stuff for somebody is helping them to fulfill their needs, but that's just stuff. You've ever had a scenario where you're about to do something and somebody else run over and say, "Oh, let me help you," but they're getting in your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not talking about smothering somebody. I'm not talking about getting in their way, but I'm talking about being aware of what it is they actually need. And that means you have to pay attention. And this is one of the pieces that I know a lot of men are not good with.
Okay.
Ladies are pretty good with it. A guy comes home tired and he lays back and, it's been a long day. She might go ahead and take his boots off for him. Like, I don't even want him to have to bend over to take the boots off. I mean, it's just, sometimes you got to pay attention. You always got to pay attention and be completely present with the other person to see what will actually add value to them compared to just stuff that you're throwing at them.